Good morning, Kingsley Community. Pastor Colleen Wehrman here, coming to you with another daily devotion for Thursday, September 23, 2021. Continuing with Live in Grace, Walk in Love by Bob Goff. Day 87. No one's going to believe any of your answers if you don't let them know we have questions too. So from the Gospel of John, chapter 11, verses 33. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Bob writes, most people of faith go through times of questioning when the foundation cracks and we brace ourselves, waiting to see if the whole structure will crumble. Maybe a college student gets challenged by a respected professor, or perhaps you see the behavior of someone who has been saying their faith is important to them and are so disappointed you might just walk away. You don't always hear people voicing their uncertainties because the people up front who appear to have it all together also seem to have all the answers. But doubt finds each of us at different times and in different ways. Most of us are constantly surrounded by unanswered questions. We wonder whether our kids will make it through their battle with addiction or what we'll find on the other side of stage 4 cancer. We don't want someone else's answers, and we don't need someone's opinion, because more opinions just create more anxiety. What we really want to know is that we're not alone. We need to know someone else has endured nights of barely breathing, and they kept waking up to new mornings. Over the years, I've learned that most compassionate response we can give someone who's not okay is, that must be really difficult. That, plus a hug. It doesn't resolve their question or relieve their fear, but it reminds them we're in this together. It removes the sense of shame we feel when we struggle in secret and removes the facade of needing to pretend we have the simple answer to really complex issues. Just enter into the ambiguity with the hurting people around you. Admit that you don't know what they're feeling, but you do know you're with them. They're not looking for a quick answer. They need a good friend. No one's going to believe any of our answers if we don't let them know we have a couple questions too. So who around you needs a hug and a reminder that you're with them? So this Sunday, we're going to be talking about that exact thing. It's how to forgive God, because a lot of us have a grudge against God. God didn't answer our prayer. God allowed something to happen. Even some of us with some warped theology actually think God caused some of our issues: cancer, infertility, addictions, accidents. So we're going to talk about how do we forgive God? How do we let go of that grudge against God? And we're going to use 1 Samuel 1, 9 through 10, which is Hannah's prayer. And I've preached on Hannah's prayer before. But something interesting is when Hannah was in great distress, which means she was very angry at God. Because back in the Old Testament, barren women who had infertility problems, that was a sin. People thought that they had sinned against God some way. So that was a consequence of them sinning against God. And yet Hannah knew that the only one that could answer her prayer was God. So she was in this juxtaposition where she's mad at God because God won't grant her a son or a daughter, a child. And yet she knows that God's the only one she can go to. So in order to get over I'm mad at God, and many of us are mad at God because he didn't stop an accident from happening, or he allowed someone to get hit by a car. I think a couple of things we need to keep in mind. First, God doesn't sin. God is holy. Sin doesn't go where holy is. Holy and sin together do not match. They do not go together. So God doesn't sin. Yes, God could have stopped many accidents, yet we don't know why. There's a lot of suffering in the world, and we don't have all the answers to those questions. So Christian people out there, if you think you've got a quick answer for someone who lost a child to a rare accident or to a rare disease, don't even suggest that God needed another angel. If I hear that one more time, I may slap someone. And since I'm a pastor, I probably shouldn't do that. God doesn't need another angel. Children do not turn into angels in heaven. When children pass, they are children in heaven. And that family, when they meet them, gets to help raise that child to adulthood or to whatever that age is. There's biblical truth to that. And they will know that child. Miscarriages, even abortions. You know, they will meet that child. So quit trying to give people quick answers to very complex issues. What we need to do is to remind them that God is with them, remind them that we are with them, give them a hug, let them know that we don't understand what they're going through, but we're here for them. And when someone's mad at God, you can't just say, get over it. Or here's another great answer. Well, obviously they believe in God because they're mad at God. True, but another trite answer. Can't be mad at someone you don't believe in. However, they're really far away from God because they've got this grudge against God. So, one, God doesn't sin. And second, God answers our prayers. It's either yes, no, or wait. And when we talk about Hannah, she had to wait for quite some time, year after year after year, for God to grant her request. But in the meantime, she did a couple of things. She let God have it. She didn't go around and tell the world, I don't believe in God because he didn't do this, or he didn't save my sister, or he didn't stop that, car from hitting my brother. She took it to God. And she was not in her distress. She prayed from her heart. And then she waited. And in that waiting, God never wastes our waiting time. He teaches us strength. He teaches us perseverance. And he also broadens our perspective to where we might get to see a little bit like he does. Obviously, we can't see everything like God does. We're not omniscient. But we can maybe get a glimpse of some of the things that are bigger than us. And have you ever gone through a situation where maybe you're mad at God and you went to God and told him that, and then in the waiting time until an answer happened, and maybe you're still waiting for that answer, you look back and you see how God has been working through your life through that whole time. He was with Hannah. Hannah, we know, gives birth to Samuel, who was a priest, and he would be the one to anoint King Saul and King David. So there's a little bit of upheaval going on with God's people at that time. They were moving from judges to kings, and they were uncertain. They did whatever they wanted. They did whatever was good in their own minds. And I don't know about you, but I think we're living in times like that. People kind of just do whatever they want to do. There's no moral compass. There's no truth. Whatever they believe that day is their truth. Well, the Bible is true, and it was inspired by God, and it was written by people. People are fallible, but the word is not fallible. So we know that can be our moral compass. God's character can be our moral compass. And if you want to know God's character, you read about Jesus. And so giving people quick answers, thinking we have answers to why things happen, why pain happens, why suffering happens, why would God allow this? Those are good questions to which none of us have answers to. However, what we do have answers to is that, one, God doesn't sin. Two, God will not waste our waiting time. As we wait for answers, or we wait for that grief or that anger that we have towards God to be released, we do some things to help it. We pray, we wait, and we believe. And so, I don't know about you, but I know there's a lot of people that are mad at God. And, as a preacher, I can be mad at God too. We all can. But our job as Christians and believers is to point people to the fact that God doesn't sin. God did not cause your cancer. God did not cause your infertility. God did not cause the accident. God does not do things that harm people because God is holy. He can't. He can't be holy and cause sin at the same time. That doesn't go together. God is holy. God is loving. God is forgiving. God is just, so he has to judge sin, which he will, in his own timing. And it might not be while we're here on earth. We might not get an answer to our questions, but eventually we will get the answer. So in the meantime, if you want to keep having a grudge against God and not forgiving God, know that you're the one who's suffering, not God. but know that God is near. And we're going to see how near God is to those that are holding a grudge against God by using Hannah's prayer. And so take a listen, 9 a.m. this Sunday. It kind of gave you the whole sermon. We're going to talk about waiting, how we have to wait in line for many things, and how we have to wait and wait and wait and wait. And what do we do in the midst of that waiting? And some of the facts that we know about the characteristic of God. So we'll talk about that this Sunday as we continue our sermon series, The Grudge, Learning How to Forgive. And this Sunday, we're going to learn how to forgive God. So even though God didn't do anything, we're going to learn how to forgive God for ourselves. So join me 9 a.m. right here on Facebook Live, on this Facebook Live page, live stream, or in person 9 and 11 this Sunday. We'll see you then. Have a good weekend.